You've received criticism at times for not being progressive enough, particularly in the area of Wall Street. And I wondered how you address those criticisms. There's so many people of our generation who are so focused on sort of the evils and wrongdoings of Wall Street, the Occupy Wall Street movement. How would you talk to those people about your position?
Right. Well, I've been progressive my entire life, and I would put my record up against anybody running for president or even thinking about doing that on so many of the issues that really have been at the heart of my work, professionally, publicly, politically. When it comes to Wall Street abuses, I spoke out about those even when I was a senator from New York, and obviously Wall Street's in New York. So I took on Wall Street. I talked about the really bad transactions they were doing with these impossible to describe things called derivatives and credit default swaps and all the stuff that we found out later contributed to the Great Recession. I called to close loopholes, including something called the carried interest loopholes. I went after mortgage lenders, and I really tried to sound the alarm when I was in the Senate. And when I was in the campaign in 2007, 2008, I was also really in the forefront of saying we got big problems here, giving speeches about even running ads about it. So I feel strongly that the Dodd-Frank legislation that was passed after President Obama took office is a good down payment. It's not enough. We're now fighting just to get it actually implemented. It was a very complicated piece of legislation. I know both the Senator Chris Dodd and the Congressman Barney Frank who did it. I've talked with both of them. They got everything they could get through the Congress. And now it's been tied up with all kinds of lobbying and campaigns against actually holding Wall Street accountable. So as president, what has not been implemented, I will absolutely implement. And then I will look for any other abuses that needs to be stopped and curbed. I like to have plans for what I do. I may not always be the stem winder about these things, because I think it's important, and I've been around Washington long enough to know you got to get people to agree if you're going to get something done. Now, trying to get bipartisan agreement is difficult, but often it's essential. So I want to get those laws implemented. I want to really crack down on any abuses. I want to make sure that what we're doing is actually working. And then I want to say, okay, what more do we need to do? And how do we make sure that this never happens again? You know, some people say, well, all we have to do is break up the banks. Well, the problem with that is that the banks did their fair share of trouble, but a lot of the problems were not from these traditional banks. They were from what's called the shadow banking world, like Lehman Brothers, which, went belly up and brought a lot of people down with them, or AIG, a gigantic insurance company. So I think we've got to be more comprehensive and look broadly about what do we need to do to make sure Wall Street, and define that as comprehensively as we can, doesn't ever again do something that hurts the American people, causes people to lose their jobs and lose their homes, and throws us into this Great Recession. So I take a backseat to nobody, and I think that I've got a very good idea about what we need to do and what we can get done, and I will approach it with real urgency when I'm president.